All right, let's move on to the team in fourth place in this division, and happy to be talking about these guys this early when doing our in-season grades for this division, and that is, of course, the Buffalo Sabres. 56 points in 50 games so far this season. They've been a lot of fun to watch. They're young, if not the youngest team in the National Hockey League this season, so let's hear your thoughts on the Sabres, boys.
Yeah, I also, now that I've given Tampa an A-, I gave Buffalo a B+. I also thought about an A- for them as well, but there is kind of a glaring weakness going on that is teeter-tottering their season in my mind. But yeah, I'll talk about the positives first. It's goals, goals, goals. This team is scoring at will right now. It's pretty fun to watch, and it's their stars. It's not the depth necessarily. It's the top guys have really shown up this season. Tage Thompson in particular has shown up this season. He's at the top of the scoring for the last, 3 months now. He's been phenomenal. He's not Mario Lemieux, but he's pretty good. So they've been a great possession team as well. You look at Corsi and Fenwick and everything like that. They have the puck a lot. They get the chances. But, man, the defense is lacking. 22nd in goals against average, 22nd in expected goals percentage. If they didn't score as many goals as they have this season, they'd be in the Bedard talks very quickly. That's what I'm saying the teeter-totter is. They're allowing a lot of goals and a lot of high danger opportunities. And not to mention, this team is undisciplined. They are the bottom of the league in splits of penalty minutes. They take way more penalties than penalties against, and that's going to hurt you, especially when you allow so many goals. So I'm giving them a B+ because they're scoring, they're fun, they're competitive, and they're in fourth in this division. So that's higher than I ever saw them at this year, and a lot of good things to come for this team. So hopefully they'll be still battling for the playoff spot for the rest of the season.
Hey guys, I'm just interrupting this video to say that if you're watching this right now on YouTube, odds are you're not subscribed to our channel. So if you're enjoying this conversation, please hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell to be notified every time we upload. We release full-length episodes every Wednesday, and we post clips throughout the week too. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers at the moment, and we're going for 2 likes on this video, just 2 likes.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Money Puck has them with a 38% chance to make the playoffs. And if you asked me at the start of the year, on February 6th, would Buffalo still be battling for a playoff spot? My answer would be emphatically no. No chance at all. But Tage Thompson and company have emerged really as a dynamic, powerful offense in the NHL. And Harp, you said it off the top, they are the youngest team in the NHL. I saw that stat the other day. They're the youngest, and I think that's a great sign because they're getting production from their big three up front and Dahlin on the back. So Tage, Dahlin, Tuck, and Skinner are all on pace to finish the season over a point per game. Dylan Cousins is on pace for 72 points. Quietly, that's a guy we haven't heard about really all season long. And then they have so many good young forwards who are currently playing in depth roles who could easily move up as the years go on or get traded for some defensive depth as well. So with all that being said, I think the Sabres are in a great position, certainly higher in the standings than I originally thought they would be in at this point in the year. For those reasons, I'm giving them an A-. If you asked me even today, though, if I think they're going to make the playoffs, I would still have to say no. I think the top 3 teams in the Atlantic will likely make the playoffs, and then the top 5 teams in the Metro. I just think those bottom 2 teams in the Metro, those 4 and 5 spots, like it'll probably be like Pittsburgh, Washington, maybe the New York Islanders if they can squeeze in there. I still think they're further along than Buffalo is right now, but I think Buff is in a great position going forward, and it's super exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, most of me talking about my team here is going to be just repeating a lot of what you guys had to say. It was great to hear your thoughts on the Sabres, and certainly didn't expect them to be in this spot. And even if they don't make the playoffs ultimately at the end of the season in April, just great to see that this young squad has really taken a step, and I really feel like they're ahead of schedule in my opinion. And at the end of last season, seeing how well they played in the second half of the year coming into this season, I never pegged them as a playoff team or being in the race, but just to take a step to progress and maybe even be a little over 500, just to take a step, have some growth and development and all of that. But to see this team playing meaningful games here in early February, where a lot of their games lately, because I've been watching a ton of Sabres hockey lately, and every game just kind of has that playoff feel to it for this hockey team. So that's great to see for such a young group. You mentioned Thompson, got the jersey in the background. Last season was a huge breakout year for him, but now he's emerged as one of the elite players in the National Hockey League. You look at the season that Alex Tuch has had and kind of, emerging as a star winger, and Rasmus Dahlin, another one in particular, who finally we're seeing that Norris Trophy caliber defenseman that we hoped he would start showing after we picked him number 1 in the 2018 draft. With all that being said, got to give them a B+. Very happy with where they're at right now. But I do have concerns of my own. And Case, you mentioned it right off the top. It's on defense. I think that I would really like to see them add another defenseman. I know Jacob Chychrun's name has been rumored with this team and all of that, but we'll see. I would like to see them add someone on the back end, particularly someone to play with Ilya Lyubushkin on that third pair, and give Jacob Bryson a bit of a break, a smaller, younger defenseman, because I do notice a lot of D-zone coverage issues with this team, and you're going to get those when it is a young defense group. When you're looking at it, you've got Dahlin, Samuelson, and Power, who they ride pretty hard. They're all young. Yoki Haru and Bryson are still young, and then Lyubushkin is really the only veteran back there. So it's a young D group, and yes, they score a lot of goals, and as Don Granato has said, good teams have that ability to outscore their problems. But as we get into the latter parts of February and into March, and that first week of April or so, teams are going to be bearing down defensively, and there are going to be those scoring problems. So when we have those, the question is going to be, how do we defend against the opposition? So that'll be something that I'm going to watch. And also the goaltending. We haven't really mentioned Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen yet. Definitely didn't expect him to be as good as he has and to take this step this season. I think that he's ahead of schedule, and again, it was kind of a question mark on how he was going to do this season and where he was going to be after the signing of Eric Comrie. But Comrie has struggled a little bit. He's had some injuries. Craig Anderson is just playing once a week now, if he feels able to. He's obviously not a young man anymore, and you've got UPL who's still young, who's just riding it out and learning the ropes. So I wonder about goaltending and defense as areas of need for this team, but just so happy to see them kind of ahead of schedule here as the youngest team in the NHL, to see the growth and everything. I don't remember when I've been this happy, this pleased, and this satisfied as a Sabres fan than I currently am right now. So plenty of good things to come. If they don't make the playoffs, that's okay, but they're playing meaningful games in February, and we haven't been able to say that for a long time. So all in all, I'll give them a B+.
Yeah, no kidding. What I want to say just to wrap up on Buffalo is that, speaking of their goaltending, I think it has been a bit of a wild card this year. If you're the Sabres and you're going into next season expecting to compete for a playoff spot, because I think that would be a reasonable expectation now after showing what you can do this year, I think goaltending needs to be addressed. Eric Comrie, I don't know what kind of goalie you're going to get next season. And for UPL, he's been fine. He has a positive goal saved above expected, but he has a 900 save. So it's one of those things where if you're going to be a contending team, you need a goaltender or two. And maybe with UPL and Comrie, one of them emerges next season as the starter, or maybe you can do a tandem situation until one of them emerges. But for me, that's still a big question mark with this team, even more so, I think, than the defense, because I think on defense, you can just kind of write it off and say, okay, they're all very young. They're going to naturally grow. But for the goalies, I think a decision needs to be made. Is UPL the guy? Is Comrie the guy? Is it a tandem situation? Just because, Anderson is old now. He likely won't be back next season. So that's just a concern I have going forward for the Sabres.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this team does at the deadline, but we know that they're not going to rush this. Kevyn Adams is not going to do that. All of this is on the young players and their growth, and he doesn't want to box anyone out, which I really like. So anyway, we'll see what happens, but so far so good for the Sabres.